Guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Chris on. Today we're going to be talking about Leadershift by Maxwell. But it's a really interesting quote, whole book. It really talks about exactly what it takes in order to be a leader and how leading the charge in terms of leading your people is, although it's incredibly important, what's also is just as important is being understand that you need to learn towards adapting. See, every single business, every single opportunity, like no matter what situation you're in, the times are always consistently changing, so you need to change with them. You cannot be the same, act the same, and expect to be successful in a world that is never going to remain the same. There are what that basically means is that no matter what, no matter how stagnant you become, no matter how successful you occur, or how much the successes that you do get, they're always going to be inconsistent with the times that are happening. Every single day, more and more technology is changing. They actually go to talk about how in the 70s, they used to think that things were going so rapidly growing, but nowadays, every year has a completely different culture. If you think about the events that are happening in day-to-day life nowadays, it's insane how quickly things are going through. 2013, although it was only 7 years ago, really feels like 2 decades ago. And so you have to basically consistently adapt, change, willing towards having new systems in place, looking towards the future, and so on to make sure that you're never caught off guard. You can always be on top of whatever industry that you're looking towards dominating. The top 3 leadership qualities of the future: the ability to mature fast, the ability to work well across different cultures, and the ability to facilitate change. So let's talk about the first one, the ability to mature fast. So whenever you're going into a new situation, it's very difficult to, adapt to the environment fast. Most people struggle with that. Generally speaking, it's a rare trait in itself. But however, it is something that is new. So many people are stuck and hate change. Whenever it comes to making decisions that aren't necessarily what you're used to be making, a lot of people become indecisive and they end up missing out on the opportunity that's present and in front of them because they don't want to make the decisions to change or the small micro changes to their personality that need to occur in order to make sure that they're still relevant within the industry. It's why certain companies go under after 5 years and other ones thrive, expand, and grow. So basically, the ability to mutate is so important, especially as a leader. The second one is the ability to work well across different cultures. Nowadays, being segregated from different areas, different groups, and different types of ethnicities is essentially a no-go. We are more connected than there ever was before, so there is no room to not being able to adapt and communicate to the different types of subcategories of people out there, whether it's demographic and age, whether it's where you live, whether it's where you're from, ethnicity, color, no matter what, you have to be able to learn towards adapting, whether it's marketing, communicating, no matter what, to these different types of people. Especially nowadays more than ever, seeing how well connected the worlds are, diverse our cities are, and general countries overall. So ensuring that no matter what product that you're presenting out to the world, you know exactly how to communicate it to all the different demographics is going to ensure that you're not only going to be able to stay successful, but dominate the industry that you're in. The next one is the ability to facilitate change. This is more from a leadership perspective. Understanding that although you may be able to change, as a leader and being in that position, how are you going to be able to facilitate it to making sure that your entire team does as well? Well, number one is, of course, leading by example. But number two would be definitely connecting and communicating with your team. Many people may have different challenges and different obstacles that they personally need to overcome. And if you as a leader are ready to not only adapt yourself, but help adapt with them, your team is by default going to fall apart. So it's making sure that you do have a good communication factor. For example, let's say that you're running a business that's selling education. Nowadays, degrees that are coming in are superseding the ones that were in previously. So ensuring that you have a staff that's on board that is educated on the new degrees that are coming in, are ready to teach the students, that's going to make sure that your courses and your university or private TAFE in general is never going to be outdated and is always going to be able to provide the top tier whenever it comes to education. But this can only be done if you understand and set in standards with your team and teachers and people that you're working with that you guys are not a stagnant business. Expect for change to happen, expect for new stimulus that needs to be put out, and expect for you guys to consistently be learning just as how you're teaching the students. Good leaders adapt and they never remain static. So many people who are in leadership positions get conceited. They feel as if they're at the top of their game so they don't need to learn anymore. Well, the truth is that you're learning every single day. There is no excuse for that. Every single day there is more opportunity to learn now more than ever, especially seeing as though more facts are readily available. The average person is generally more educated, and in fact you could do most Harvard business degrees and Harvard degrees in general online just without the certification. So nowadays, with people becoming naturally more and more educated, that just means that you have to be naturally more and more on top of your game whenever it comes to learning about the statistics, learning about the industry that you're in, whether it's leadership skills, no matter what, understanding the situation, being on top of it. Knowledge is of course power, and essentially utilizing your intuition to make sure that you're never static. Whenever you look towards applying for a new job, the number one thing that they look for is teachability. Is teachability. That is the number one. Teachability and fearlessness. Those are the two traits that people genuinely look whenever they're looking to hire a new person. So, are you always teachable? No matter what situation you're in, no matter if you're the CEO of your company, are you still ready to learn? Number two, are you fearless? Are you constantly ready to apply the teachings that you're learning? These are the two things that generally most employers are looking for in most employees. And if you don't have that within yourself as a leader, how do you expect your staff to? So ensuring that you're always on top of the ball, always looking forward to learn, always adapting, never stagnant, never static, can ensure that you're constantly going to always be dominating the industry. And that's the type of position that you want to be in. 91% of future recruiting will be done based on the ability to adapt and change. Nowadays, people don't want people in stuck degrees. In fact, more often than not, people are going to be hiring people with the intent of them looking towards learning more, either getting more qualified, either on the job or within an industry. So expecting people to have their degree, whether it's a doctorate and not looking towards for them to do a specialization in order to adapt and move up within the industry is, I'm not saying naive, but it's definitely going to make you as a position of struggling to find high levels of employment or even running high levels of business. So often than not, nowadays people are getting hired in the job with the expectation in order to get further qualified. That is something that didn't necessarily happen 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's coming more and more readily available, especially with technology that didn't exist 5 years ago, and next year new technology that's coming out that didn't exist 6 months ago. So understanding that you're constantly going to have to be moving into employment, moving into business, moving into any sort of communication with people, learning the new ways, whether it's CRMs and so many different ways to communicate different products and services, staying on top of it as a leader is going to ensure that your team does as well. There are 7 steps that the book talks about that is going to help you adapt in order to mastering Leadershift. The first one is continually learning, unlearning, and relearning. The stuff that we were taught in school, although present and relative at the time, needs to be unlearned and well-adapted. The people who learned how to write on typewriters now need to unlearn that and write on keyboards. That's an example of how the facts that times are changing, and understand that the stuff that you do learn does get redundant. And in fact, it can hold you back from learning more. So make sure that you're always ready to start moving forward, understanding that the stuff that you have previously learned may need to be relearned in order to be applied and better applicably in the future. The next one, second, is value yesterday but live in your today. Yesterday's achievements, although are great, don't bask in them. Understand that the future, specifically what you're living in right now, is what is important. Just because your previous victories, although might boost morale, don't genuinely affect the next days. Number 3 is rely on speed, but focus on timing. Everybody's heard about, well, this one basically means everybody's heard of the fastest gunslinger in the West, but that doesn't mean too much in a shootout. It's about timing. Understanding that how fast you are at your job, how great you are at your skills, if you're not ready at the right time and place in order to apply them, then you're basically useless. So making sure that your timing is on point as well as your skills is going to ensure that you're always going to be profitable, or at the very least in an advantageous position. The next one is see the big picture as the picture gets bigger. So many people get stagnant in their ways. They reach the top of the industry and they're not really ready to start looking beyond the hedge as to what is actually approachable for them and what they're actually able to achieve. So make sure that no matter what, no matter how much success you have, no matter how many goals you hit, you consistently reset them so you're constantly striving to be better. Live in today, but think about tomorrow. Understand that today, although this conflicts with number 2, this one essentially talks about how do what you're doing with forward projection. Is the basically actions that you're doing today positively going to affect your future? Forward project, understand what's going on to ensure that you're never caught off by surprise. The next one is move forward. Move forward into the most uncertainty. Understanding that whenever you're making risks, that's what business is about. Okay, but when it comes to a leader, it's so certain that they project certainty, or else how is their followers supposed to react? I understand that you on the inside might not be 100% certain about your decision, but the second you do make one, follow through with it as if you are. Then and only then can you have your followers trust in you and consistently follow in whatever it is that you're choosing to decide. And also, if you're decisive and certain, sometimes, not all the time, if you make a decision quick enough and it's the wrong one, you can always fix it and move towards the correct course. The next one is realize today's best will not be tomorrow's challenges. Today's best will not meet tomorrow's challenges. That means that no matter how good you did today, tomorrow will always be harder. So make sure that you practice and are prepared for tomorrow's challenge. Kobe Bryant or any other celebrity, any other sports star who won the championship understood that even though they're at their peak of the game now, they're now in first place. The second wolf is always more hungrier than the one that just ate. So make sure that you're consistently ready, thriving towards being better, doing everything that you can, doing every single day in order to make sure that you are on top, ready for the next challenge that is going to be harder than the previous one. Anyways, guys, that's it for Quick Notes with Croissant on Leadershift by John Maxwell. I highly suggest you do read the book, but don't stop there. Keep looking at some of the other videos that we have on the channel to put yourself in a better improvement and position for success. I'll see you in the next one.